How many of you are familiar with the term Simran? What is the most common translation of Simran? Meditative mind, what else? Chanting the name of God, what else? Remember. Okay, throw all those away. You don't know what Simran means. I don't know what Simran means until the Serious Things Stop talked about it. The science of Simran has not been talked about on this earth. It was maintained as a mystery. Even today, it has not been taught to humanity in public. It has always been person to person. We are talking about that secret science because we have to find the oneness. So when the Serious Things Stop talks about Simran, when Yogi Bhajan talked about Simran, he talked about a really, really deep personal experience that you have when you meditate. It's not just, oh, I'm going to remember something, I'm going to remember something, I'm going to remember something. It's about a very real, genuine process that we go through as human beings when we meditate to start to understand the Naam versus the ego, the Naam versus the outer reality. Okay? Now, the cycle of the intellect, how many of you are familiar with that? Some of you are, right? The cycle of the intellect works like this. The shashara, the central channel, the brainstem, is automatically generating 1,000 thoughts per blink of the eye. Okay? 1,000 thoughts per blink of the eye. 1,000 thoughts per blink of the eye. Some of those go into the unconscious, into the subconscious, they go all over the place. But whatever thought arises that your ego identifies with, you think that you think, okay? Like, I'm thinking about this. We say that all the time. I'm thinking. Actually, you're not thinking. You're catching, right? So 1,000 thoughts are coming every blink of the eye, and your ego is catching the thought that it identifies with. The moment your ego catches that thought, it may become a feeling. Once it becomes a feeling, it may become a desire. Once it becomes a desire, you want to act on it. And when there's the action, there's the reaction. All right? I like chocolate cake. Okay, chocolate cake. I'm thinking, right? The thought chocolate cake comes. My ego attaches chocolate cake. I have a feeling that I like chocolate. Then I have a desire. I want some chocolate cake. Then I have an action. Let me go find chocolate cake. Then there's the reaction, depending on how young you are and whether your body can handle chocolate cake. Right? For me, I'm gluten-free. If it's not gluten-free chocolate cake, I can never eat it again. Ah! Really, that was a hard one. No more German chocolate cake for me. Okay, so we're in this cycle all the time, and the problem in life is sometimes our actions create reactions that really harm us. How many have had that experience? Okay. And the problem is not, what we do is we spend all of this energy trying to fix the problems we create from the wrong action. And the science of Simran is using the power of the holy syllable, of the sacred sound, to get to the root of the thought and correct the thought as it comes up so that the action is correct instead of incorrect. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me say that again. Simran is the science to go into the root of the thought and correct the direction of the thought so that the action is accurate and that you don't waste your life correcting your inactions. Now, this is a very different approach because most people talk about meditation as what? You all have studied many things. What do you normally hear about meditation? Stilling your mind.
No thoughts.
No thoughts, right? Most meditation practices tell you you have to get to the place of thoughtlessness. And it's going to take you years, and you have to do retreats, and maybe one day you'll actually stop the thoughts. Okay, very difficult to achieve a state of thoughtlessness. Highly difficult. not so difficult to achieve the state of Simran, which is to correct the thought at the root and have the correct action. All right, I'm going to read a couple passages from Sukhmani for you, okay? Because I want to demonstrate what this means. This is one way that we correct the thought, is we meditate on these sacred words and we let them correct our filter, right? If ego is our filter, through Simran, we adjust the filter to change the thought, all right? After receiving 10 objects, his confidence gets destroyed because of one object he did not receive. If the one was not given, and the other 10 were taken away as well, then what would this idiot have to say? Right? Don't we do that? We have so many things in life, and then this one thing gets taken away, and we get so mad at the divine. Right? Now, the thought can come, I'm angry at you, God, for taking this thing away, or we can correct the thought at the root of it and say, no remedy exists outside the master. Always adore and honor him. For the one who attaches her mind to the Creator's sweetness, absolute peace rains down on her thoughts. The person who within himself trusts and accepts the divine plan, all things come to him, O Nanak. Okay. So there's a lot of correcting of the thought wave in that passage, that if we just surrender and trust the cosmic plan, everything we need will come to us, as opposed to the grasping mind that wants and wants and wants and wants, and then gets angry when something is taken away or destroyed. Yeah? Okay. So that's one aspect of Simran. O foolish mind, why do you weep? You receive what has been written in your destiny according to your past actions. The Creator is the giver of difficulties and of peace. Abandon everything else. Think and care about the one. Whatever the Creator does, trust it and be at peace. Why become deluded and wander in ignorance? What came with you into this life? You are a greedy worm who has become coiled around the taste of your own desires. Within your heart, call upon the identity of the one who made the sun and the moon. O Nanak, then you shall return home with honor. So do you see how these passages of the holy word, what we call Shabad Guru, how the passages of the Shabad Guru can get into you, and we chant them, and they work on the level of nod, no problem. You can chant and it has an effect. But when you can start to understand what they mean, they get into the root of your intellect, the root of your psyche, and they can start to correct the thought wave, so that what you think changes. And then the action that comes from that thought changes as well. And the idea is, through Simran, to shift the thought wave so that every action comes from the Naam. All right? So now we're going to talk about this aspect of it. What you want to do is develop your capacity in your meditation that Simran corrects your thoughts so that every action represents your authentic identity. Okay? Now, when we yell and throw a book at somebody, are we in our authentic identity? Probably not. Unless you're a master and you're waking someone up. I'm not saying it's always inappropriate. So this is the other aspect of Simran that Yogi Bhajan, the Sri Singh Sahib, taught about that was so beautiful and so brilliant and so like true to my experience of meditation. Okay, and this is what he talks about. He talks about the fact that your you is not a simple you. Your you is actually a complex you. That there's an outer identity and an inner identity. And that you're always living, negotiating these two identities. Okay, so let me read you a couple passages. The first action of Simran is, you have to recognize that you have a complex you. That's the first expansion. The second is, without your knowledge, your inner you has a constant thought wave. And with you, your inner self has the right to exchange the thought wave. It is fascinating that we don't have the wisdom to see how we function. This is Maya. Nobody knows that each one talks to his very self. Each one directs himself. Each one receives direction for himself. I am worried. What is the worry? Worry is nothing but a conflict between you and you. I doubt very much. You doubt very much because there is a tremendous split between you and your you. When you deny that you have a you within you, you deny a lot of things to yourself. That's why your scene is never together, because you are never together with your own you. Does this make sense? Questions, right? We all have that experience. There's the inner being that's really the Naam. It's the true identity. And it's vibrating. It's vibrating what it's here to do. It's vibrating why it's here to exist. And then there's the outer you that has to deal with the wife, the husband, the mother, the father, the children, the boss, the job, the pressure, the car, the traffic. And so you're constantly navigating, whether you realize it or not, between the outer identity that's navigating through time and space and this inner identity that's the light of the divine, that's the base of your existence, that's vibrating and here for a purpose. Therefore, you must administer your outer you to challenge that authority of complete sovereignty of the inner you, and you must make the inner you look to and compromise with the outer you, okay? So what we do is we're either a tyrant and silencing our inner being, and then we get into a lot of trouble, or sometimes people get really spaced out, and they're like, wow, I had the vision, I gotta start the center, and like there's no capacity to socially navigate what's actually happening, right? You have error on both sides. Either the way spaced out, I got the meditative vision and God's just gonna bring it to me, and like, hello, clueless, you know? Or I'm silencing my inner you, I can't listen to it, I can't give it what it wants. My family won't approve, I can't listen to myself, okay? So the art of Simran is, when we meditate on these sacred sounds, it's not enough that you're just chanting. You have to open the space within yourself where this inner dialogue begins, where the Naam, the inner being, and the outer being start to wrestle with each other, start to dialogue with each other, start to talk with each other and exchange the thought wave to come to a place of mutuality where you live that complex you in a harmonious manner. Okay, the outer you must compromise with the inner you so that you can carry on. Do you understand how you distinguish your expression of self in 2 times? And I love that. Your self is existing in 2 times, always. All right, are we about to get Aquarian and really like, wow? Yeah, we are. There's the self that is timeless and infinite and a light. And then there's the self that's navigating time and space, and you are always existing in both dimensions. And you meditate to become aware of those dimensions and to negotiate the delivery of the inner identity in time and space. And this is my favorite passage that he's ever said on Simran. I find it so powerful and so compelling. There is tremendous evidence available that each person has a set personality. We call it personality in destiny. And the outer shell of that personality is noted down as the personality in time. So we have to deal with two personalities. This personality in destiny and personality in time. Okay, now this is his definition of liberation. This is how Simran liberates you. If the personality in destiny within the personality in time is delivered to the destiny, one has achieved liberation. If that is not done, then it is a continuous cycle of time of come and go, come and go, come and go. We call it avagavan. The theory of avagavan is that the soul has to reach the destination. Because it has already started, it must end. It started from infinity, it must end in infinity. One must have an experience to get into infinity, into the oneness of God. Now, when we're talking about remembrance, when we're talking about the oneness of God, we are not talking about conceiving a God guy out there that we're remembering. This is what the oneness of God is. To get into the oneness with God, a person has to learn to be one. You can't experience the oneness of God without learning to be whole and one in yourself. One is only that one whose inner self and outer self experience the same thing at the same moment for the same oneness. Right? So what is duality? Duality is when the inner being and the outer being are separate in an action. Oneness is when your inner being and outer being are joined in an action. And this is what Simran is about. That you are meditating to correct your thought form so that the inner being and the outer being act as one unit. The destiny is delivered in time and space, and that's how one achieves liberation.